Hi, my name is Laezer Schlomkowitz. I'm an actor and theater director. I've adapted lots of material for the stage. Now, this is a story called To Heal the World about a middle-aged, middling opera singer who falls in love with a young religious woman and changes his life for her by becoming a cantor in a synagogue. On the eve of his first service, he expects her. She doesn't show up. They are about to be married. An hour after sundown on Saturday, Fire asked the rabbi to lock up, citing a family emergency. He threw off his hat and robe and ran out the door. He took a taxi to Brooklyn, knocked at her parents' apartment. It was after 9 o'clock. Chanka's father answered wearing a dark wool suit, torn at the lapel. The hall mirror was covered with a black cloth. Chanka's mother was weeping in the living room corner. They were in mourning. Fire's mind raced. What happened? Is Chanka hurt? Is she all right? Is she hurt? Her father said softly, "She's dead." Fire grabbed his chest and fell back against the door jamb. Her father's breathing came in gusts. His face turned red. "She is dead in this house. Never mention her name again." What do you mean? The father spat. "She's made fools of all of us. Me, my wife." A finger pointed at Fire, "especially you. She is outcast, dead. Do you hear?" At "dead, do you hear," Hanka's mother let out a wail, thrust her palms to the ceiling and tried to tear the hair out of her head. She forgot she was wearing a sheitel. The wig came off in her hands, her fingers trapped in the netting. She tried to shake off the hairy growth, but it resisted. She ran screaming to another part of the apartment. "Oi," the father said, "what she is doing to her mother." The father muttered something in Yiddish, then said clearly, "I am going to my wife. Together we will forget we ever had a daughter." Fire grabbed the father's shoulder. "I must know. What did she do?" The father ground his teeth. "What did she do?" Then louder, "What did she do?" "She ran off with that goy from the synagogue. She loves him," she said. "He loves her," she said. They had been seeing each other secretly for over a year. The father was bellowing now, stooping him for over a year, in his bed, in his cave, or whatever pisshole he comes from. The father beat his head with his fist. Twice. 6 million dead, and she takes up with a German. A German. He poked Fire in the chest. "You, my friend, are a first-class flunky. You thought she loved you. The whole engagement was a trick so we wouldn't expect." The father turned cold. Enough talk, enough and no more. His breath came back slowly. "I am going to my wife, and you must leave." He looked at Fire with pity. "We don't want to see you again. It would remind us too much." Fire left Brooklyn that Saturday, walked into a bar in Washington Heights and found comfort in old habits. He staggered home in the gray dawn with a bottle from the corner liquor store. He squirreled himself in his apartment. He didn't show up for next Friday's service or Saturday's. Embarrassed for his life, he stopped talking to his parents. He kept himself in a fog of liquor, trying to rip the picture of Chanka from his mind. To little effect. She appeared again and again, skipping round the ladder with her Shabbos goy, laughing with him, laughing at Fire, who would have given his life for her. How could I be so blind, he thought. How could I believe in happiness in this world? He moved from Washington Heights into a cheap apartment in Hell's Kitchen. He continued drinking, and his drinking made him puffy and sloppy. He worked odd hours in an industrial laundry on West 71st Street, shoving tablecloths, napkins, sheets, and pillowcases in and out of hot washing machines and dryers. His only solace were bottles of Dewar's and cassette tapes he played over and over. Verdi, Puccini, Offenbach, Dvorak, singing all the sad arias that cast him in the company of the tragic, the damned, the too sad to live much longer. One snowy March night, as he was pulling laundry from a dryer, a broken wine goblet wrapped in a tablecloth slashed the length of his right arm. In a drunken daze, he tried to make sense of the blood soaking into the laundry when the night watchman yelled, "What's the matter, you? You're getting blood on everything. Go to a hospital, you idiot." Fire staggered out the door, remembering to hold his arm above his heart. He took himself to the emergency room at Roosevelt Hospital, where a nurse stanched the gash with a tourniquet before rinsing the wound. She gave him some pills and a glass of water. "This will help with the pain," she said, as she picked shards of glass from his arm with his tweezers. Fire scanned the room, staring at all the destitute, the alone, the falling down, all those waiting to die, it seemed. He caught a bleary glimpse of himself in a window smeared on the outside with grime and slush. He looked dangerously like those around him. He was like them, and they were like him. Sons and daughters of fathers and mothers who wanted a life for the children better than they had. And look what they'd become. Disappointments and irrelevant. He thought of his parents whom he hadn't called in months, who didn't even know where he lived. His parents who had given him life and refuge and every opportunity in their power. Under his breath he murmured, "Look what I've become." Crying quietly, he closed his eyes. His insides felt as if they were decomposing, bone, tissue, muscle, his body preparing for its final collapse. He held his breath, waiting an end to his torment, longing for the nothingness of death. Now, how he got here and what happens to him afterwards, well, that's the rest of the story.